Understanding Investments a Few Minutes at a Time by Daniel Dower from Chapter 9, Fundamental Analysis, Issue Number 41. Earning Stability and Other Non-Metrics. It seems common sense that, all else being equal, one would prefer investments that grow at a steady pace as opposed to fits and starts. Certain industries are more prone to either. For example, toothpaste sales tend to be very regular compared to big-ticket items like automobiles. While such reliability seems obviously desirable, before making a decision about how to include it in our valuation methodology, we need to pick it up and look at it from all sides. I call such topics non-metrics, things to consider that aren't clearly defined in black and white. Some use a discount rate commensurate with the industry or sector, claiming it includes market sentiment on earning stability. But it is the very nature of fundamental analysis to value a company outside of stock market prices. As with most analysis, different tools have different applications. Here are a few to consider with regard to earning stability. It is as much an art as science. The data below is for Microsoft and Campbell's from 2004 through 2013. Using a spreadsheet like Excel, we can compute a linear regression that not only provides a formula for forecasting future earnings, but also a coefficient of determination, a number between 0, no fit, and 1, a perfect fit. Always pay careful attention to the types of numbers used in each calculation. The prior table shows that the fit of the regression, the coefficient of determination, is awful for the year-over-year changes. This tells us linear regression isn't the right tool for that job. However, the higher coefficients of determination tell us that linear regression may be useful for forecasting future earnings. More importantly, for the sake of this chapter, the coefficient of determination tells us how reliable that projection is. Note that sophisticated linear regression would likely include several variables, not just time, population increase, GDP, market penetration, etc. Generally, I try to keep things fairly simple. If you have the time and inclination, virtually any model can be made better. This simple analysis tells us, all things being equal, we can be more confident in the Microsoft projection than the Campbell's projection. But does it give us insight into earning stability? Perhaps more importantly, do you really care? Warren Buffett claimed that he would much rather earn a lumpy 15% over time than a smooth 12%. There are many ways to skin this proverbial cat, and some inclined to less risk may sincerely prefer a smooth 12%. My purpose isn't to side with higher versus lower or lumpy versus smooth, but rather to take both into consideration in a common sense manner. Here's a fairly basic stab at it. Using the same data in a spreadsheet, we can calculate the standard deviation. However, since standard deviation is an absolute number, much bigger for Microsoft than Campbell's based purely on Microsoft's larger sales, we'll want to make them more comparable to one another by calculating the coefficient of variation, the standard deviation divided by the mean. Note that the year-over-year change is already on relative terms. The table on your screen is based on the same Microsoft and Campbell's data. This suggests to me that despite the fact that the linear regression implies that the 2014 projection for Microsoft is more accurate, when considering the whole of the past 10 years and how much each year varied from the average year, Campbell's earnings were more stable, with a 0.08 coefficient of variation compared to 0.26 for Microsoft. As your love for such analysis grows, as no doubt it is doing at this moment, you may develop your own models. You may be surprised to find that with minor adjustments, you may get very different answers. On average, earnings for Microsoft and Campbell's grew 8.9% and 2.5% respectively, each year from 2003 to 2014. I put average in quotations because, as most often is the case, this is an arithmetic mean. Sum up the 10 numbers and divide by 10. When considering numbers in a series, like year to year to year, we should be using the geometric mean, which reveals a growth of 8.0 and 2.3. Maybe that's close enough for government work, but the inquiring mind wants to know how these companies fared in real terms. We all know a dollar today just doesn't buy what it did 10 years ago. The real geometric mean earnings for Microsoft and Campbell's from 2004 to 2013 was 5.9 and 0.3 respectively. An astute analyst is going to look at the same numbers from different perspectives and try to determine the potential pitfalls. These days, that is 2014, inflation is around 2% below the long-term average of around 3%. A lot of people expect inflation to normalize as the Federal Reserve reverses several years of accommodative monetary policy. Others don't. Not all products are affected by inflation equally. How will inflation affect Microsoft or Campbell's? And more importantly, how can we factor that into our valuation methodology to determine their intrinsic value?